Hello and welcome back to our second week of our free motion quilting class. This is a 101 class for anyone who's wanted to improve or start free motion quilting. We're doing tips and tricks both for the domestic sewing machine and the long arm, so make sure you follow along. We have got stencils that are going to help teach you the muscle memory you need to be able to create 4 basic quilting stitches, and then we're going to show you in the subsequent videos that come after that each week how you can enhance that design by changing scale, maybe modifying it a little bit, using it as a background filler or a block filler to really dress up your quilt, combine them in an infinite number of ways so that way you can always have fabulous looking quilts that you completed yourself. We have stencil kits that you can get that will have everything you need to create the stitches so you can get that down. We also have quilt kits in 4 different colorways, so that way you guys can pick the colors that are best for you, and you can either do quilts as you go or you can complete the quilt top and follow along on your long arm doing each of these stitches there. All right, so this week we're going to be working on the Loopy Meander. This is one of my favorite quilting stitches. It's very whimsical, and so it's perfect for anything that you want to have that light, airy feeling for. So anything for kids, this is fabulous for. It's a great connecting stitch when you're trying to connect other bigger stitches. We're going to show you some of that in our quilt show and tell at the end of the week. And it is also very versatile. We can change the scale of this to make it look very different. We can do a double loop to give it even more whimsy. It is really just a lot of fun. So holiday quilts this is good for, kids quilts this is good for, anything that's just light and fun. This is your go-to stitch. It's also really quick and it's really great. Maybe you have a little bit of volume in your quilt that you need to quilt out. This is a good one to use with it. All right, let's take a look at the stencil we're using. So this is full line stencil. If you need a refresher on how to transfer it, make sure you head back to our video that is dedicated for how to use the stencils and the pounce pads, because we've already transferred it for this one. You can see what we're going to do is we're going to start at the side and we're just going to loop around. And this one is particularly interesting because we are looping way out to the side and then coming in. So they're kind of working their way down and back, down and back, down and back. So we're going to do the same here on our 10.5 inch square. The difference here, so we're going to come down and back, down and back, down and back. So when we get to up here, you can see we don't have this whole section because we're just working one little block at a time. So what we're going to do instead is we're going to just travel over within what will be the seam allowance. We'll be able to work around and fill in this. You really don't have to fill in this section, that's really optional. And then you can come around, finish that up, and we are good to go. All right, so as always, you're going to have the same point of view as I am on the home sewing machine and also on the long arm, and you guys can watch as I follow along. Now, if you're doing this at home, you're going to see, this is the first time we're seeing registration marks. So there's a registration mark here and here. So when you're lining this up, what you'll do is this line will be transferred onto your fabric, and then you will line this registration mark up with where this was. You also have them on the top and bottom so that way you can line them up on rows. If you need more info on how to do that, we have lots of tutorials on the stencils that we carry from Full Line Stencil, and we show you that many times in all those. So make sure you check out all those videos for some more inspiration and some more stitches to try. All right, let's get sewing. All right, so since the first thing I'm going to do is go back, I'm going to go ahead and set my hand all the way to the side here. Just get my stitches going. Oop, I had to pull it up to do my bobbin, didn't turn it back down. There we go. Trying to get my rhythm. Sometimes that takes a second to get going at the speed. That is a good combination of how fast you're moving the quilt versus how fast the machine is moving. That's what creates the length of your stitches. So you got to find a nice rhythm that works for you. You're listening to the machine as much as you are watching it because it should sound steady. All right, I'm getting to the point where I'm not going to have control. I know once I hit this point, I'm going to need to change. So I'm going to stop right here because this is a good spot to be able to move my hands and then be able to come out of this without it looking too wonky. It's harder to come out of a curve than it is something that kind of looks a little bit like a point. All right, kind of get back into my rhythm there. Anyone working on a long arm with a stitch regulator is not going to have this problem. The machine's just going to do it for you. We're going to go around. Probably when I get to the bottom of this loop, it's going to be time to change my hands around again. Yep. All right, I can lift and move that hand over and give myself a lot of space to be able to go back. And if you're having trouble staying on the lines, don't really panic too much about it. Your goal is to kind of follow the idea of the line, because the lines are going to go away. So as long as you have some nice, smooth, round loops, it really doesn't matter if you are on the exact loop that the stencil laid out for you, as long as you're kind of close to it. What we're doing now is we're learning how to move our hands. We're learning the muscle memory it takes to work our way around the quilt to create this pattern. And that's the critical part. We want to learn how to work our way around so we don't quilt ourselves into a corner, and we want to learn how to move our hands to create that design. All right, I am losing my control here. I have not changed hands in a long time, so I'm going to stop right at that point, and I'm going to try to position my hands so I can do the rest of that corner without having to stop. I can tell already I'm losing control. I'm not getting those curves as nice as I would like them. So when I get to the bottom of that loop, I'm going to pause. And when I come to a full stop with that needle down, if you got that setting on your machine where that needle can stay down, make sure that's engaged. It's going to make your stitches look so much nicer. Again, so we're going to get to the bottom of this loop and change again. Basically, whenever you start to feel like you're not able to do your best work, it's probably time to change your hand position. And make sure you come to a full stop when you're doing it. All right, here's the part where we're getting to the end, where the stencil is longer than our block is for this quilt. So what we're going to do is we're going to quilt this last loop, and then we're just going to travel over within the seam allowance. You also could travel like full on in the batting. That would be fine too if you don't trust yourself to stay within the seam allowance. Now we're back over to where we can pick that up again. And I'm going to go ahead and skip that little tiny bottom loop underneath this section. I don't think that's totally necessary to get when we're not moving on to another section. All right, even though we're almost done, I really need to change my hands. And you can see I'm starting to lose some of this. It's because I was kind of dragging my hand instead of lifting it and moving it over. So we're going to move over to the side here. Now we're going to work our way to that last little loop-de-loop section. All right, so I'm about to iron this to make the ultimate white chalk go away. Again, don't do this if you have one of the pink or blue, you'll just heat set it. But for the ultimate white, you can iron, it'll go away. But before we do that, I just want to show you guys that my stitching line is not on all of these chalk lines in all the cases, but the idea of the line was followed. So we got a really pleasant design. We had nice curvy points, and we started to get that muscle memory developed on how to move around your quilt. So now I'm going to go ahead and give this an iron, and it's just going to go away with heat and stay away. That's the best part. All right, so here we have it. We have the Loopy Meander. Very simple stitch, very fun stitch, great for kids quilts, holiday quilts, anything you need to get done quick with a little bit of whimsy. Again, this is really great if you have a quilt that is a little, not as flat as it could be. This is a great one for sort of tampering that down because you can really kind of move around and just distribute things a little bit evenly and get it going down. All right, for our next video, we're going to show you guys how you can use the same stitch but change the scale. So get your whiteboards ready for tomorrow. But in the meantime, go practice this with your stencil. We'll see you in a bit.